This evening, we are celebrating the launch of the Ralph Lauren Catwalk book. This volume serves as a visual archive of Ralph Lauren's Runway collections, and it features more than 1,300 original photographs. Next to me, I have Saffron Aldridge, the iconic British model who has been the face of many Ralph Lauren advertising campaigns and has walked in lots of the brand's shows. Next to her is Bridget Foley, one of the most respected fashion journalists of our time. Bridget spent over 3 decades at Women's Wear Daily, including many years as executive editor, and she is the author of the just-released Ralph Lauren Catwalk. Next to her is Jalil Johnson, a fashion writer, stylist, and compelling voice of the new generation. And finally, Jacquetta Wheeler, the internationally renowned British model, photographer and DJ, who has also walked many Ralph Lauren runways throughout the years. So thank you all so much for joining me. Bridget, I'd like to start with you, if I may. Just tell us how this book came about, because you had the unique opportunity to work with Ralph Lauren and the design and archive teams, and you revisited images from every single show that he's done since 1972.
It's an amazing concept to distill runway coverage of major houses and major designers. And for me to do Ralph, to see it all, to really delve into it from beginning, to see the consistency over time, and yet the forward motion, which is the hardest thing for a designer to accomplish, is really incredible.
I mean, I thought, reading the book actually, what became clear is how coherent that vision was right from the start.
Ralph has often said, I don't want to be in fashion because if you're in fashion, you're going to be out of fashion. He doesn't even like the term fashion designer. He is a brilliant fashion designer, one of the most successful ever, but he doesn't like that term because he does not design clothes for he designs clothes for the moment, but for all moments. He often says, I want my clothes to look better next year than they do now and 10 years hence better. And when you talk about the ongoing vision, it is amazing because it started so young. This really, truly started to develop when he was a kid, growing up in the Bronx and going to movies. And he fell in love with movies, and movies really helped to, and movies and sports, and those two themes and interests really informed and started to shape his worldview.
And the catwalk is his cinema, and, you know, casting characters, not models. When you look through the collections, there are a lot of references to British heritage and lifestyle. And he himself said, I've always loved England because it was non-fashion, it's timeless. It was not about what was the latest new sleekness, it was about weathering and those things that get better with age.
One of the fascinating things about Ralph Lauren is that from day one, before sustainability was in the vernacular generally, let alone in fashion, and when he was a young designer, a 20-something designer, he said, I design things to last. And that was a very, very, a very deep and an important concept, not only to do, but to articulate, to make that a tenet of your work. And he found that to be a very British sensibility. One of his favorite examples is like a professor's cardigan. It's worn and worn and worn, and then maybe it gets worn out a hole on the elbow. So you don't toss it into the bin, you patch it. And that's noble, that's aspirational, and the way things should be.
We are very lucky to have Saffron with us, who has been the woman who sort of epitomized Ralph's love for all things English at a time when the company was expanding around the world. So can you tell us a bit about how you first started working with Ralph Lauren?
It was 40 years ago, which I kind of find incredible. And I was an 18-year-old model in New York. I'd got to New York through various ways back then in sort of 86, when you did a little bit of work in Paris, you did a little bit of work in Milan, and if you kind of got lucky, you got to New York. And I went to see Ralph, and he was such a lovely, kind man, and we chatted and we talked about Englishness and all these things. And 40 years on, I still do things for Ralph and I still work for him. So I'm very proud to have spent such a long time. My sisters have also worked for Ralph, and I feel very loyal to him.
I'd love to bring you in, Jacquetta, as well, because you've also walked many a catwalk for Ralph Lauren. So what was your experience?
I found myself in New York modeling, and I was cast for the Ralph Lauren show. and I was so excited and very nervous, and I sort of went off to the showrooms on, I think it was Madison Avenue, and I remember just feeling in awe of the whole thing. And Ralph came right up to me, and he was adjusting this scarf around my neck. And he looked at me in the eye with this humility that I would never have expected from Ralph Lauren. And he just asked, "Would you wear this?" And I was just astounded that I was being asked whether I would wear, Ralph Lauren by Ralph Lauren. And I think the point of this story is that he really cares how women feel in his clothes.
I presume you said, yes, I would wear.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So Jalil, I wanted to ask you, what aspects of Ralph Lauren's world resonate most with you? And what do you think continues to make it so relevant?
That it's this idea that if you desire something, if you work hard, like, the possibilities are endless. And you can also create the person that you want to become. There's something quite comforting about his clothes. They're not asking too much of you, the wearer. They just feel right on the body.
He came into fashion with a wild idea that American retailers thought he was nuts at first, It's really interesting. Classics become classics, but they had to have started somewhere. And something becomes a classic because it resonates, and it resonates over time. And what you're saying is exactly that. I mean, look at, Ralph Lauren launched those ties 59 years ago. You are a Gen Z. Yeah. And look at you, and you look at how comfortable you look in those clothes. And that you've been able to take them and you've, put your outfit and make it you. And that's the amazing thing, that there is a revolutionary streak and a renegade streak that kind of gets short shrift because people have been responding for so long.
I think it was you, Jacquetta, was saying that you'd been invited to his home in the Hamptons as a sort of introduction to his world.
I think he really wanted his models to understand the lifestyle that we were basically trying to sell and portray or get people to, aspire to. And the best way of being able to sell a lifestyle is if you can experience it. And yeah, he really included me. He invited me to this amazing lunch in the Hamptons, and his whole family were there. It felt, it didn't feel like a fashion event. It felt like part of his life.
Back in sort of the late 80s when we were doing these advertising campaigns, you lived together for 2 weeks, which is, it's a long time, but in that time we could become a family and produce these absolutely beautiful, stylized pictures that Ralph was sort of saying, this is the world that I want you to come into.
So you never felt like a mannequin with Ralph. You felt like a woman who was wearing his clothes.
He feels the same way about his runway. He wants you to feel like he envisions you as characters and not as you say, mannequins, showing the latest clothes. Yeah. But that's also, I think Ralph is the world's only true lifestyle brand. He saw the way the world is.
I think a big pillar within the world of Ralph Lauren is about the styling. You can take that polo and wear it however 10,000 ways. And I think it speaks to especially a younger generation who really prize individuality, and when they're thinking about shopping and what brands are aligning with, they want to invest in something that has a community but also gives them free reign to create and again show who they feel who they are deep inside.
Bridget, I'm curious, are you surprised by Ralph Lauren's continued success?
No, I'm not surprised, because I do think that constancy is very important. People want to feel, you talked about feeling comfortable. People want to feel that they can rely on something and want to be able to relate to something, because it is so very authentic. Today, that word is written into marketing plans. And with Ralph Lauren, it has been, part of the ethos from the beginning.
He also certainly taught me the idea of barefoot elegance. You don't even need to have a shoe on, basically. You can be in your suit, walking around in no shoes, and this sort of like essence of barefoot elegance is always something that I thought's rather a lovely way to think about, the way you be.
I just want to thank all the panellists for being here today with me, and congratulations on the book, Bridget. And thank you all for joining us in this fun conversation. And please remember that the Ralph Lauren Catwalk book is now on sale.